From the 1999 hit series Freaks and Geeks that kickstarted the careers of several stars, to Marvel's dark rendition of The Punisher, there have been countless fan-favorite TV shows that have been canceled over the years. The latest one is Willow. That's right, guys. The live-action adaptation of the 1988 film has also been canceled. That too, only a couple of months after the first season of the show was released on Disney+. Willow was the sequel to the classic movie, but fans will be sad to know that the series won't continue any further. The show picked up where the film ended all those years ago, and it may have not had the same cultural impact as the original movie, but it was still very well received by the critics. I mean, 83% on Rotten Tomatoes is no joke. You all know how stringent that rating website can be. So, it was kind of surprising when it was announced that Willow won't have a second season right away. But it'll still have an important place in the Lucasfilm library. And you never know when it might be revisited once again sometime in the future. That's what Jon Kasdan said. The creator of the show revealed during an interview that Willow is taking a break. He sees this more as a pause than a cancellation. Good news, right? Wait till you hear this. Season 2 of the series has already been written as well, and Kasdan hopes that it'll eventually be made, but it won't be happening anytime soon. Not at least for the next year or so. Because the showmakers have decided to release the cast, which will throw a wrench in the plans for sure. I mean, how are they supposed to make the next season without a cast? Apparently, the Willow actors were released from their obligations so they can seek other roles in the meantime. The show wasn't canceled because of a bad story or inadequate acting. It was canceled due to Star Wars. Let's face it, guys. Willow was never going to be as big as the galaxy far, far away. So Disney and Lucasfilm would instead focus on what's really working out for them right now. I mean, the Star Wars franchise is huge. It is certainly blown up even more after the success of The Mandalorian, and has paved the path for shows like Ahsoka, Acolyte, and Skeleton Crew. The lore of Star Wars is always going to bring in a larger audience as compared to a show like Willow, which has a very niche audience. At the end of the day, Disney is running a business, so they'd rather back the horse that's going to guarantee them profits. Willow introduced an unlikely group of heroes in a mystical world of brownies, sorcerers, and trolls, and they had to set off on a dangerous mission to save their world. Yeah, I know, guys, sounds similar to The Lord of the Rings, but Willow had its own charm. Something the fans might never get to experience again, sadly. Just like Freaks and Geeks. Now, this show may have been canceled decades ago, but it remains a cult classic to this day. I mean, nowadays, you guys have tons of shows focused on teenagers. Back then, this was totally new. Young adults saw themselves on the screens for the very first time. And they saw the issues they faced back then on the show, too. The characters were realistic, the story wasn't over the top, and the soundtrack was original, the perfect mix. That's why when the show was added to Hulu, Gen Z flocked to it at once, because it appealed to them even today, just like Euphoria did. The show honestly discussed drinking, sex, and drugs without glorifying any of it. It was truly made for teenagers, and it introduced some of the best names in Hollywood as well. From Jason Segel, James Franco, and Seth Rogen, to the likes of Lizzie Kaplan, Busy Phillips, and Linda Cardellini, even Martin Starr. Despite of the success it found with teenagers, the show was canceled just after 18 episodes. I can't say anything for sure, but there have been talks about some sort of reboot, which reminds me of another series that you might see again, The Punisher. Oh yes, it might finally happen after a 3-year hiatus. Jon Bernthal has already been confirmed to reprise his role as Frank Castle in Daredevil Born Again. And this is good news, because you might remember that Castle made his first appearance in Daredevil as well, back when it used to be streamed by Netflix. But Bernthal's portrayal of the Punisher was so well received by the fans that soon afterward, he got his own series. And for 2 whole seasons, he terrorized the people who did him wrong and killed his family. This didn't last for too long, though. Marvel canceled all of its shows on Netflix because of the launch of Disney+. And since then, fans have been waiting for the Punisher to return. This, along with Daredevil, were 2 of the best Marvel shows on TV. I can happily forgive them if they let go of Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist, but the Punisher absolutely needs to come back. Just like Fox's Firefly, the show has a cult following as well, much like the other shows I've told you about, and it was canceled for so many weird reasons, which is just bizarre. I mean, I get it, if a show doesn't make enough money to meet the production costs, then it has to be let go. But the thing is that Fox didn't even air the whole thing. They only broadcasted 11 of the 14 episodes, and that too in the wrong order. Fox thought that the second episode, The Train Job, would be a much better start to Firefly, and they aired that before the actual pilot, which was the last episode that was ever broadcasted by the channel. After making a complete mess out of the story and the series order, Fox decided it had had enough and canceled the show entirely. Although the showrunners did make a movie, Serenity, to give some closure to the fans. But one 2-hour movie couldn't possibly do justice to all the characters. There have been no talks of a reboot or a spin-off so far. But hey, a guy or girl can at least hope. Just as I still hope for a 3rd season of Altered Carbon. The cyberpunk dystopian themes of the show were truly refreshing. The mixture of action and crime, sprinkled with romance and the horrors of the human mind, made it into a completely original story. The showrunners really took the audience for a ride across the stars, as Takeshi Kovacs changed bodies while solving seemingly impossible cases. While searching for the woman he has loved for centuries, the first season took the world by storm, as Joel Kinnaman played the edgy protagonist stuck in a foreign body, on a foreign planet. In the future he doesn't belong in. Anthony Mackie took over in the 2nd season, which honestly didn't do so well, but it wasn't bad by any means. In fact, the show had a pretty healthy viewership throughout its time it was active. But it wasn't enough to satisfy Netflix, though. They revealed that the cost of production for a single episode was almost $7 million, and no amount of audience would have been enough to match that. I mean, Kinnaman revealed that the budget for the first season was more than the money it took to film the first 3 seasons of Game of Thrones. That's just insane, but the show was still immensely loved. And I'm sure if it came back, the fans would definitely watch it, just like the rest of the shows on this list. Those have been some of the beloved TV shows that were taken from us too soon.